Cardano's back really is up against the wall. Obviously right now hanging out here in outer space, not much structure at all on the ADA weekly chart, but it's up against a wall because what happens next on this chart isn't really decided by Cardano ADA or really crypto as a whole even. It's decided by this. It's decided by equity markets. It's decided by what's going on right now in other parts of the world outside of crypto. And right now, S&P 500 at this lower high Fibonacci resistance, obviously a nice day after that Powell speech today, kind of coming off dovish, but how long will this rise in S&P last? And will this prove to be lower high resistance for S&P? Because if it is, and if this starts falling, guess what? Crypto going to be falling. And then at that point on this weekly chart, ADA might end up kind of in even more of a bit of a problem in terms of just hanging out there in outer space. But we're going to talk about structure. And we're going to talk about this daily chart, namely this MACD crossing the signal line just the other day, this momentum oscillator shift that we talked about in one of the most previous videos. And we're going to talk about the importance of that move, especially right now, even as I do this video, ADA trading at this resistance at the 20-day, what that means, what to look for, why to be careful. Before we do, everybody, I tweeted this earlier. This photo encapsulates one of the biggest things happening on Cardano right now. People call me Cardano shill. It doesn't make sense to me because I'm like just a dude that started a YouTube channel 5 years ago just to talk about what I'm interested in crypto. My interest happens to be right now Cardano and what's being built on Cardano. It has really attracted me. It's drawn me. And so this is just such a good, simple picture of this. And it encapsulates so much. It's not just the technology. It's not just what's achievable on Cardano and what's possible, but it's community and it's growth. And as somebody that recruits for startups, that's what my firm does. I love, especially in a bear market, watching this stuff. I love watching hustlers hustle and grow and build kind of against the tide, right? And so this was a picture that Mickey posted, Mickey Watkins. And this is too funny, everybody. So this person says, World Mobile has no Spectrum license anywhere, including the US. And by the way, I had to look this up. A Spectrum license is permission given by a government agency to an entity that gives that entity exclusive rights to use a frequency band for a particular application, such as radio broadcasting. So he's saying World Mobile has no Spectrum license, right? So they can't do that. Best World Mobile can do is be resellers of existing mobile networks, which is highly competitive biz with thin margins and lots of competitions. I don't know if it almost sounds like a burner account of Mark Cuban. I don't know if you remember that Mark Cuban thread, but he came out swinging at World Mobile, kind of acting like he knew everything he was talking about in terms of telecom. And what happened? Mickey stepped in and corrected him, right? And with few words too. And that's what I love about it. So he stepped in and boom, it says it right there. The dude was wrong, right? And this story of building and the story of proving themselves continues to grow and tell itself to all of us as we're watching. That feeling when air nodes you're installing begins showing on World Mobile scan. And you can go over here. Here's another tweet, and this is them actually discussing, I think 5 days ago, Good Morning from Zanzibar, where the forecast is for continued growth in the World Mobile Team network. Over 17,000 users. And look at this. I'll put a link in the description. You can go over here, and you can just kind of get your typical stats of World Mobile, right? Market cap and all that. But you see total network consumption, total air nodes, 156. And then you just scroll down. There's more data and everything. But just look at this map. Do you see this? And to be able to track this story and see these air nodes kind of coming online and everything that was being talked about, because that's what it is. And I'll put a link in the description as well of a video I did a pretty long time ago going over what World Mobile is doing and building. And now to see it just slowly come into fruition. That's what I'm talking about. And it's exciting in this bear market. It really is. I saw this today too. Starlink-powered Wi-Fi brings broadband to remote caravan site. Here's an article. I think it was from today. And check this out. In short, Starlink's constellation of LEO satellites act as the backhaul connection for providing internet capacity to World Mobile's air nodes. That's pretty epic to read that, right? Starlink, World Mobile. The pilot, which was set in just a few days, is said to have delivered stable connectivity with download speeds of up to 400 megabytes per second. Here's Mickey saying, we are pleased to have successfully conducted our first pilot test using Starlink's satellite constellation together with World Mobile's infrastructure to connect Pencarnon Farm in Wales. World Mobile is a unique and dynamic network that uses a wide range of technologies and a powerful sharing economy to deliver affordable and efficient internet access where it is needed most, connecting the unconnected, everybody. It's a story. It's slowly, chapter after chapter, coming together. And this is something we've been kind of seeing. If you've been on Twitter, here's in September, somebody asks, hey, what's up with the competition such as Starlink? Because again, if you don't dig into this a little bit and understand what's going on here, many people initially think from a surface level, Starlink is a big competitor. What's World Mobile even trying to do? They're Starlink, right? But that's not it. And we just saw in that article, and Mickey replied, he said, Starlink and other low Earth orbit satellite providers are not substitute for our dynamic network. And this is why. Satellites compensate for the fact that they are a long way up by using a very low data rate, around 2 to 4 megabytes per second when connecting directly to a handset. Imagine using 2 to 4 megabytes per second. Do you know how slow that is? That equates to around 3 concurrent Zoom calls per satellite or 9,000 simultaneous Zoom calls for the entire 3,000 satellite constellation. And then this is actually from like a year and a half ago, May 2021. At same time, is there any way to ask Elon Musk when Starlink will be up in Africa? So we have another backup option for backhauling the World Mobile Network. And this is what this article is discussing, was using Starlink for backhauling. So all of this stuff coming together, and you can kind of go down the rabbit hole in terms of World Mobile and how it is progressing and how they are continuing to build. But as somebody that's just also outside of just being just kind of obviously tracking charts and stuff like that, I'm also running a recruiting firm. So I'm watching crypto startups build, and there's a lot of challenges in building anything. And that's in any space, right? Let alone what World Mobile is putting together, and they're doing it. And that's what I love seeing, because it's not only like what they've been talking about doing, but they're deploying things, and systems are coming online. And it's just really a great story to track. And it's also epic that it's on Cardano. And here we are. This is the ADA charts. We're going to pivot over to the ADA charts because it's something that I'm also watching. If we're looking at ADA, I mentioned in the beginning of the video, it's just kind of hanging out there in outer space. We like structure, don't we? Like when we're tracking macro charts, it's always nice to have structure. ADA doesn't really give us too much structure in general, even in bull markets. I mean, it's just it just goes crazy in one direction and then crazy in the other. It's just like a straight line, it seems. But needless to say, right now, ADA is putting in a higher low on the macro, obviously room to the downside. But in terms of structure on the macro, I will say one thing that we have kind of a bit of structure, or maybe the beginning formation of structure, because we've tracked this symmetrical triangle that ADA was in, and it broke below, got the retest of the trend line. And it's amazing to see this all over the charts, not just ADA. It's just like this technical analysis, these patterns, these setups are so consistent, bounce off of that trend line. We came back down, not quite hitting the target, but very close in that range. But we could be kind of in this new beginning stages of new formation, right? So in the bullish scenario, part of that formation would certainly be a pullback to the trend line once again of that triangle. And also this yellow line, this macro trend line that goes all the way back here to 2018. So if ADA were to kind of get a bullish move, likely off the back of traditional markets, once again, that's what crypto is waiting for and watching. But if ADA were to get a move, a pullback, then we're starting to see, we can scratch this out, all that structure, that last triangle. We're going to start seeing some type of new structure. What does that look like, right? Are we going to get a inverse head and shoulders? Are we going to get a falling wedge? You don't know. We can speculate on these things, but on the macro, I'm waiting for structure. One thing to point out, I want to point this out because I spotted it earlier. If you look at the stock RSI, actually, this quicker moving momentum oscillator, the RSI, the slower moving, has consolidated in very bear market fashion And here we go back here, right? Very bear market fashion, but the quicker moving momentum oscillator kind of bottoming out and oversold. And as it's bottoming out, if you go back and you kind of look, well, when it did this before, what was ADA doing? And one thing I want to note is this. In this bear market, even when it's hitting oversold, on this quicker moving momentum oscillator, the stock RSI, there wasn't much momentum, even when it kind of exited oversold and went into overbought. There really wasn't much going on, and you can see that, right? So even back here, you can see this. This was back in November 2021. Just look at this. There's nothing going on, and it actually falls. There's another cross. We get to test at the 20-week moving average, but there's no massive, amazing move. It's just always been lower lows and lower highs. But one thing I want to note is this, and this could be indicative of this slow, finally turning around, this huge, massive ship making a U-turn in the middle of this bear market to turn things around. The shift could be happening, and that is because of this. If we look now, when we were getting these stock RSIs kind of hitting oversold and we're just waiting for an exit from that, if you look at the MACD, this other momentum oscillator, it was very kind of in bearish momentum territory, right? Meaning we have the MACD line above the signal line here and then falling below, and then it's just below it the whole time here. This time around, something is different. The MACD has crossed above the signal line and has actually been above the signal line since around July. So we kind of have this slow shift on the MACD to the upside. We're seeing this is the bear market, right? And we're starting to see it's trying to exit. Now, we could definitely see consolidation of the MACD line, maybe even coming back down below the signal. We need to track that. But this is what's different right now. There's a little bit more momentum in Cardano's favor when we're looking at the charts right now. So we are in oversold on the stock RSI, but I'm kind of curious to see how much of a power move, if crypto makes a move to the upside, how much of a power move this time around ADA could make. It could be explosive, but it's one scenario, right? Now, if we start talking about the other scenario, it leaves us kind of here on the daily chart, and that is at resistance at the 20-day moving average. We're at the 20-day moving average resistance, and this is an area throughout this entire bear market we've tracked. We either see resistance at it or failure to stay above it at support. Remember, we're waiting for the shift in markets on these ADA charts as well. It's not just the momentum oscillators. We're waiting for a shift, a U-turn. When we get that U-turn, we're going to start seeing higher highs and higher lows above the moving averages, not lower lows and lower highs below the moving averages. So we're waiting for that shift. But if we look at this MACD now on the daily, this is something we talked about the other day. We got the MACD crossing this signal line, and we said, okay, every time Cardano does this, it kind of makes a move to, at the very least, test resistance. We got it now. We're testing resistance. It was not a big move at all. But what I want to talk about in this video is kind of why to be extra careful. And we can wait for confirmation, see what ADA does. In the short term right now today, ADA really hasn't done much. But if we look at this area back here, this is what I wanted to talk about. We can see we got the MACD crossing above the signal line. Now this kind of screams at us, be careful, because look what happened then. Right here, boom, MACD crosses the signal line, and ADA sees resistance at the 20-day moving average. And what does it do? It comes back down, kind of makes another attempt at the 20-day, and then it fails again, and then we put in a new low. So right now we're getting this initial swing to the 20-day moving average in green. The MACD has crossed. It gave us that move to the 20-day moving average. But if it fails, we could very much be putting in a new low for ADA. So just because we're getting these MACD crosses, you zoom out on the charts, yes, oftentimes when it happens, ADA makes a really nice move. Oftentimes, but not every time. And a perfect example is back here when the MACD crossed and it put in a new low. So we want to be very careful about that. A perfect target for ADA right now would be kind of in that 27-cent range if ADA were to fall, and we really would complete the target for that symmetrical triangle. Now, on the flip side, if we're looking at this, there's something to take note of. Yes, Cardano saw the 20-day moving average back here, resistance, fell to a new low, but from there, it was kind of off to the races to kind of help form structure. And we could be in a similar situation. We just might have to wait a little bit longer. And this is how I see things. This is how I see the charts. But if ADA were to put in a new low, it does seem like this momentum to the upside that has just started will continue. So there could be a very strong bounce off of a new low, and maybe that could be the move that we're getting all the way up into the 40 to 50 cent range to test these key trend lines. And this is really a macro area that we want to see ADA eventually break, whenever that is, and that would be up there in the 40 to 50 cent range. So this story that's playing out now, it's not just like, all right, we got the MACD crossing above the signal line, it's bullish, everybody, that's it, done. This stuff, we need to take into account all indicators, all resistance areas, wait for confirmations. Right now, in the very short term, as I do the video even, you see immediate resistance at the 20-day moving average. So tonight, this is what I'm tracking. It literally is the thing that, I go to bed tonight and I'm watching this. If ADA is still at the 20-day moving average resistance, I'm going to say, what does it wake up? What do I wake up to tomorrow? Where's ADA? Is it above or below? And that will really, I think, help give us an idea of what is in store. And it's kind of really is a perfect example to look what happened back here when we were getting this resistance at the 20-day moving average and ADA was falling to a new low. So are we going to get a resistance and fall to a new low? Or are we going to get a break above the 20-day moving average, an explosive break for ADA? Time will tell. Once again, this chart, very important. I'm absolutely watching this chart along with all crypto charts. So we're going to just have to wait and see. I appreciate all of you coming by. Hit the subscribe and like. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.